Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to This Week in Bitcoin. Oh, yeah. Today is February the 26th. 2021. Strong hand, long-term thinking. Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Don't FOMO on altcoins. I'm offended by selling. One day closer to returning to a $1 trillion market cap. Oh, wow. What a wild week it's been. Well, compared to last week, we got John in the house. We got Kyle in the house. We got BTC Dragon Lord in the house. They are all linked to below. Kyle Kempler, John Vallis, you know them all. They're all returnees. So the actually started with the Tether FUD going away. Well, maybe. Tether was found, they had a settlement with the New York Attorney General. But at that point on Monday, the price of Bitcoin started going down the tubes. I mean, it had reached an all-time high on the weekend, 58,000. And all of a sudden, everybody's mood changed. All these newbies that are trading on freaking what's that platform called where all the noobs trade the GameStop, whatever that is. The Robinhood. All the Robinhood guys started selling. All the corporations kept buying. So I mean, we got down into the 40s, into wherever we are right now, down into the 40s. Can you imagine that? What a world! So, John, what's going on? We're going to start it off real simple for you fiat freaks out there. We're just going to rip this off our chests and just talk about the price real quick, and then we're going to get into like where you got to use your head real nicely. So, John, what is up with the price, and what is up with this week in Bitcoin?
Well, as we all know, the only number I care about is the nominal number of BTC that I have, and not its exchange value in fiat. However, it's fun to watch these charts play out and unfold. I think there's a couple ways you could look at this. Pretty simply, there's been a lot of buying since last fall. Maybe we're taking a breather. A lot of hot money came in from both retail and institutional side. I think the retail tends to be weaker hands, and so maybe something in the ether, Tether FUD, taking profits, whatever, has caused them to sell. But you know, there seems to be so many headwinds. There's so much institutional demand coming online. It's challenging for me to think that we go very low or for very long. And you know, the same sort of dynamic is playing out in my mind that has always played out. Like, let's say we're in mid-2020 or mid-2019. Like, the thing that I ask myself is, like, how is it staying down? Like, how is the price staying down? So on the flip side of that, you know, I think we have to sometimes, and not being able to understand or comprehend why the price wasn't going up in those periods, I think it's almost the reverse now. It's like, I can't see a reason why, you know, the price would be down deep or long, but that's the nature of markets. You know, screwy things happen, and we don't have all the information about why things do what they do. But I just see it as opportunity, man. I hate price appreciation. I want to stack as much as possible for as long as possible. So I'm happy to see the price go pretty much as low as possible.
All right, I want to remind everyone: 6 million noobs have bought coins on Robinhood crypto already in 2021. Wow. Retail users have flocked to cryptocurrencies in 2021, with Robinhood reporting an increase in new monthly crypto traders of 15 times last year's average. Okay, so we have people that, I mean, and the GameStop thing, we could talk about that too. It ramped up again this week. I don't think it's coincidence. All right, so Dragon Lord, what's your take on what's going on with the price? I mean, no one should be disappointed. It's just so weird how people's they can become disappointed when it drops to the 40s. I don't get it, man. Come on, dudes. We're one day closer to returning to the $1 trillion market cap. What's going on with you, Dragon Lord?
Paper hands going on with people. I don't know. Institutions selling, someone's taking profit. Maybe someone will create the next. What is that? Like Robinhood? I don't know. People buying Robinhood, they don't buy Bitcoin. They're just buying some weird IOUs. You don't even know if you're buying Bitcoin there or not, because you know you don't know about it. You know.
I did want to say one thing, but before, I don't think it's the institutions that are selling. It's the the weak hands are selling. The institutions are buying, and they're going to be crying. These freaking weak hands and complaining about the institutions.
You
So
sure?
there was an article out there, and I didn't link to it.
Yeah, like last time the company was there that sold like, I don't know, like 350 Bitcoins just because someone said that oh shit, there was a double spend on the network. So they quickly went and said, oh, we're going to sell that money. Like, okay, so they took profit and then apparently they are out. Yeah, I mean, they're stupid, so.
There was some analysis that it appeared that as the price was going down, there were still some big buys being made, which they assumed to be institutions. But you're right to bring up that example.
There's always big buys going on. So if you take a look at the amount that's being sold, so if you go on a Bitcoin ETF, or I think which was the other one, you can see the order book on it. So when they sell, for example, they sell like 500 Bitcoins or 1,200 Bitcoin, I don't even know. But basically the buying side is much more larger than the selling side. So we only need like 200 Bitcoin to get back to like 55,000 or something like that. So that's nothing. It's like whoever is selling, there's barely anybody who's selling. They just, they're just giving it away to the plebs. And the much more they're selling, the more people are getting Bitcoin basically. And that's the point, is when one person have 200 Bitcoin and they sell on exchange, that money gets redistributed around among people who are small buyers, small retail buyers on exchanges like Bitstamp or Kraken or anything else. And, they're going to start withdrawing that money from these exchanges, and they're going to keep decreasing the Bitcoin liquidity on these exchanges. And with that, the price is going to keep going up that way.
All right. We're tossing darts out there on what is exactly happening. I bring this up. I bring up the price just to keep the hands strong out there. That's all I'm trying to do. Kyle, do you have any thoughts on the price and that it's dropped and people are worried? Kyle, do you hear me?
Did we lose Kyle?
No. Do you guys hear me? I just want to make sure.
I can hear you.
Yeah. All right. So we might have a Kyle issue there. Or unmute yourself, Kyle. All right. Kyle is unmuted. All right. We'll get back to Kyle in a second here. All right. There's news out there besides you fiat freaks and theorizing on what the heck's going on out there. And we had some issues. There was the United States had a little bombing in the Middle East. That can freak people out. There's things happen. Over the long run, the price goes up. All right. So Bitcoin is uncensorable. This is something that I love about Bitcoin, and something I really want to bring up. This story, which is linked to below, and it is going to be the only way, as people get canceled from the traditional economic rails. This is going to be, they're going to wake up to Bitcoin like this dude did. Stop the Steal organizer hosting clubhouse sessions about Bitcoin. Ali Alexander has been banned from Twitter and PayPal, but not by Clubhouse and Bitcoin. When asked what his future plans are, Alexander replied, "I only want to talk about Bitcoin, and my future plan is to get more Bitcoin." All right. Well, pound that like button for your future plan there, Ali Alexander. I think that's good. It's unfortunate you had to find out about Bitcoin this way. This dude was involved in planning that rally that was in D.C. on January 6th. So a lot of people out there are going to be like, why are you talking about this guy? He's a troublemaker. He's lied. He's done this. That's the thing. That's the thing. Even he, no matter what you think about him, can use Bitcoin and is using Bitcoin. And there's so many people out there that said there's no use case for Bitcoin. There's no reason to use it. Who's going to want to use it? I mean, this is the type of person, the unmentionables, the unwanted, whatever Hillary Clinton called them that one time. So, John, since I don't know if Kyle dropped off there. John, what do you think about this story and the uncensorable aspects of Bitcoin?
Well, full disclosure, I don't know anything about this guy's particular case or what's been alleged about him or any of that. But I guess from reading the article that you sent, I understand that the social media and the banking platforms have done what they've been doing for a while now, which is, as you said, canceling, kicking off the platform of people that they disagree with, or the unmentionables, or people that are not politically correct, or people that are against the dominant narrative. And this has always been one of Bitcoin's value propositions. And it's been part of the reason why maybe it's been tainted from the get-go in the mainstream of people calling it like a black market, nefarious purposes sort of money. But this was the case with WikiLeaks, right? And this has been the case with a lot of people that were relegated, were pushed effectively out of the system, and had to find a way to fund themselves and to maintain their livelihoods, and to not be completely cut off from society. And Bitcoin is a tremendous way to do that, because it can't be censored, because there's no intermediary, because nobody can cut you off from it. And it's almost poetic that the current decay of our society is such that it's actually pushing people into that option, which is ultimately better for themselves. We stay in this decaying, highly controlled social dynamic and social media environment because we haven't pissed off, we haven't said the wrong things yet, or we haven't sufficiently gone against the grain, and so we're comfortable to stay and hang out. And I know we're all susceptible to that, and like Mastodon is great, but it's not the same feel as like mixing it up on Twitter with in Normie Land and stuff. So I get why people stay, but ultimately that's where we should want to go. And so the people that are getting kicked out of this landscape, I know it hurts, and I know it affects income and livelihood and social life and all that, but like, they're being kicked into the realm of freedom. And that's what Bitcoin represents. And that's what we should all ultimately want to get to, or use the pressure of that other realm to convert, the existing decaying one into something more akin to the Bitcoin realm, and having more freedom and all that kind of stuff. So, this is why Bitcoin is here. This is one of the valuable use cases of Bitcoin. And I'm despite what anybody does, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would do things that I'm personally against, that aren't in line with my values and principles. But I'm glad that they have a non-political means of maintaining their livelihood and saving their money and doing what they want with their savings, their money, and their life. It's not for me to judge. And there's just a lot of imposition of values and judgment going on in society today, both politically and media and technology. And, thank God for Bitcoin.
Yes, there is a lot of judgment being cast down upon people in terms of what they think, and you can't think certain things anymore. And more people, they think it can't happen to them. It will happen to them. And that is, I think this is going to be in this year. That's why a lot of people are going to discover Bitcoin. All right, Kyle, can you hear us now? All right, unmute yourself though.
Yeah, now I can hear you loud and clear. How about me? Sorry about that.
All right, give us your take on uncensorable aspects of Bitcoin. That if this is the year people are going to discover it, because so many people are being canceled and whatnot. And if you have any experience with that,
just like the whole life cycle of Bitcoin. Back in the day when WikiLeaks, started using Bitcoin because of censorship, and now we're seeing more and more censorship, and the audience is just growing and growing. So people are realizing that Bitcoin is a very useful solution to enable us to engage in financial commerce and transactions. I'm not sure. Is my audio okay here?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. So I just feel like it's the continued awakening of people towards this unbelievable technology that is Bitcoin. And this is a marathon and not a sprint, and it's one step at a time, one wallet at a time. The fact that there's 6 million new users on Robinhood being declared, I think, is a testament to the fact that we're probably going to see 100 to 200 million new users in crypto this year. and there's a lot of interest coming. It's still very early, and as people who have been in this a while, it's our, let's operate with honor and not try and hurt these people too, or expose people to too much risk. And that's been one of my kind of driving passions, is helping people get in safely.
Now, the Robinhood people, unfortunately, if they do something wrong in life, they will be canceled by Robinhood, because they're keeping their. First of all, you can't get your Bitcoin off of Robinhood. Now, again, I think it's a positive. We have all these people interested in Bitcoin, but in terms of the uncensorable, unconfiscatable aspects of Bitcoin, if you're on Robinhood, you're not going to be able to enjoy those aspects of Bitcoin very much. But hopefully,
you're using Bitcoin for one small purpose, and that is only to try and make money. You're viewing it completely as a speculative instrument, like a traditional stock or bond. It's not. You're not understanding at all the value of it as a transaction network, as a currency, as a store of value, long term, as a sovereign store of value. And that's why, there's just so much to the Bitcoin equation in terms of knowledge and the need for education. I mean, it's constant, but many people are still believe it's okay just to have a ledger, to have a ledger, even your keys, your coins mentality, but have a ledger, and just put it away and never use it. I truly believe that, you say never sell, but I mean, I feel like we should be exchanging this, and we should be using it. Otherwise, it becomes just collectible.
Offended by selling, but I will say this. Of course, these people who get painted into this horrible economic corner, they will be using it. I mean, the only way this Ali Alexander can be supported now is so people are sending him. Yeah, I don't like spending it on coffee and whatnot at this point. But if you are a desperado out there where you can't make an income anymore, or you've been kicked off by every platform, yeah, you're gonna. It's going to be very valuable in generating income for you in your fundraising efforts. Now, I want to say real quick here, and this is why I bring up Ali Alexander. Roman Q says someone in Iran can instantly send value to a North Korean, and no one can stop them. And this is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing. It is. But if you say that to a normie, you're not going to get a very good reaction out of them at all. And it's the same thing when you talk about this Stop the Steal event. There were some of the dudes that were involved, they were sent Bitcoin, and that you can't stop it because you think it's disgusting is awesome. That's a very valuable commodity there, what Bitcoin is. All right, we'll talk about an unmentionable person here. BTC Dragon Lord, you're an unmentionable. What do you think about this? I sent you the article about the Ali Alexander guy. Do you have any thoughts on the uncensorable aspects?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that Ali figured out that he lost and that the commies are winning. So he turned in his desperation towards seeing a way out of his situation, and he kind of discovered Bitcoin. And when he figured out this is something that nobody can stop and you can use as a weapon, he probably figured out that maybe if he puts his entire focus into it, within a few years its value appreciates, he could use it to change the United States as it is right now today. And nobody will be able to stop him because, if you have 1,000 or 2,000 Bitcoins, then you're sitting on fucking VMDs and you can use it against whoever you want to, or you can use it for good reasons. I mean, good means also. It's a double-edged sword because it can be a weapon or a tool to change society for the better. But it depends what kind of political views you're representing. So it's really, really, really like a philosophical question also. So yeah.
And you bring up communism. If those dudes were smart, they should get into. We can't stop them either. No one can stop anyone from getting into Bitcoin and funding their organizations.
But this is like a problem with with leftism, is that they rely more on socialist and communist ideology from Marxism, and the whole thing with Bitcoin is that Bitcoin completely obsoletes these systems, so they are unable to function within a Bitcoin system, because even within communism, the problem is that if the communists would start using Bitcoin, they wouldn't be able to mint Bitcoins for the communists. They would keep spreading the coins and they wouldn't have enough value that they can put into their Bitcoin. So this way, people who live in big cities, they would have to move out into the farmlands to produce something in order to create value. But it wouldn't function for them at all this way.
Interesting to take it to that level. When I think about communists buying Bitcoin, I just think of them being hypocritical and just trying to living behind the scene. I mean, but they can't be stopped. They can't be that is something you can't stop North Koreans from buying it. You can't stop any authoritarian from buying it, and I think that's and to send it to anyone if they control their private key. So there's still so with what has happened this week in terms of the price crash. We've got our Peter Schiffs of the world saying it has no value, etc. I'm just putting the reasons why it does have value out there. All right, so let's John. I've got two Canadians on here today, John and Kyle. And one of the reasons I did that was because of the Canadian Bitcoin ETF. Now, let me read you something about this Canadian Bitcoin ETF, because finally Canada has allowed something that the United States has not. Canada is doing something better than the United States in terms of regulation, because I sure wouldn't want to be in Canada right now in terms of other current events that are taking place. I enjoy being here in Florida where I can, do just like it was the olden days. There is no new normal here, but in Canada, unfortunately, there is. But look. Let's go the exact quote that I cannot find about this Canadian ETF. Where is it? Okay, the Canadian Bitcoin ETF now holds more than 10,000 Bitcoin. Wow, that was fast. So, John, what's up with this Canadian ETF? Give us a summary, and then we'll give you some feedback on it.
Well, I mean, it's been in the works for a while. We've had a couple of the trusts here, like Grayscale. We have QBTC and Galaxy, and there's another one, I believe. But this thing started Wednesday, Thursday last week, and I think it's got nearly $1 billion in funds under management now, and I believe that the largest ETF in Canada has $8 billion. So it's been off to a crazy fast start. There's been a ton of inflows. It seems like there's some outflows coming from the closed-end funds because there's pretty steep discounts on like QBTC right now. You can get it for it's at like a -8% discount. So and there's a Purpose one, the Purpose ETF, and there's Evolve ETF, and I believe there's a few more coming down the pike. And now the game is to compete, and I believe they'll be competing on management fees and brand. And obviously first to market has a huge advantage. But what I think is so encouraging about this, and not unexpected, is it just shows how much pent up the demand there is to get exposure to this. But so many institutions and individuals were not comfortable with, the means up till now to get into this space. They were waiting for an ETF. The ETF is a stamp of approval. It's credibility. It's something that fund managers and institutions are familiar with. And though I disagree with paper exposure to Bitcoin, or I should say I don't believe it's the best method of gaining exposure or buying Bitcoin, obviously for a large cohort or a large demographic, it's probably going to be the only way they get exposure. And it seems like the floodgates are kind of open, and there's just a ton of people that want exposure to this, and the ETFs are a cheap, efficient, and familiar vehicle for them to do that. And I don't think it'll be long before a Bitcoin ETF is the largest ETF in Canada.
All right. Now, with that said, why did Canada do it before the United States? And is this going to trigger the United States?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, once people see how much money is coming into this, money talks, right? And I mean, you look at the size of Grayscale already; it's enormous. But I think the same effect will happen in the U.S. And like people here have been saying, I spoke to Greg Foss, who was instrumental in the getting one of the closed-end funds open here, and he said typically what happens here in the U.S. it's about 8 to 10x. So let's say that this one in Canada did close to $1 billion in their first week. So that means close to $10 billion in the first week for an American ETF. I mean, if those numbers are even close to being accurate predictions, then there's going to be a lot of incentive and will on the part of the institutions, and probably even how they grease the wheels of the regulators to get this thing through, because there's just too much money at stake. And that's the beautiful game theory of Bitcoin playing out on another level. It's just like you can't deny it, and greed is pulling on the strings of everybody. And so I think, you know, for once, maybe Canada is blazing the trail, and I think the U.S. will follow shortly behind.
All right. I just want to put it out there too. I'm not down with paper Bitcoin, whatever you want to call this.
Of course.
Yeah. But there clearly are a lot of people that if they're doing this in Canada with that much money flowing in, I would like to see what happens. And it's weird. The GBTC fund, Barry Silber's fund that you mentioned, Grayscale, the price has gone down as if people are expecting there to be Bitcoin ETFs to take its place in America. And the odd thing also is, and I don't know if I even want to bring this up, but yeah, Barry Silber is interested in creating more funds with more altcoins. So hey, man, he can do what he wants to do. Kyle, as a Canadian, do you have any thoughts on the Canadian ETF?
Yeah, I do. So I mean, I had been speaking with some people from the Canadian Pension Plan, which is a large pension fund that has about 300 million or 400 billion of assets under management, and in trying to encourage them to buy Bitcoin and giving them some formulas and calculations for how much they should acquire. And it was interesting. This was a couple of years ago. They would come back. I was not interested. There's too much reputational risk in getting Bitcoin and getting into Bitcoin. They weren't actually looking at it from a strategic opportunity or de-risking approach towards assuring the long-term value of the Canadian pension system. They were worried about their reputational risk. So I feel that with an ETF coming on board, there's a much larger chance, or that reputational risk has just dropped significantly. And I think that also plays true for the general kind of investing market, who is made up of a lot of advisors who just don't even understand how a crypto exchange or wallets work. So that this has now come across makes it easy for them. Now, the big question will be who will be the first ETF that gets hacked and loses all of the Bitcoin that it allegedly has? What type of transparency will there be into proof of reserves on these ETFs, so that they're not just necessarily trusting in a Robinhood type custodial setup. So those are some of the kind of the interesting things to consider. But in general, I mean, good for Canada. I know there's been a lot of players within the Canadian market space who have been trying to get this through, and for Canada to beat the States, as you say, that's I guess a small win for the nation. Hooray!
Well, it's a rare occurrence. Let's put it that way.
We're playing hockey.
Yeah. It's a rare occurrence. All right. We'll ask a BTC Dragon Lord. You're not in America or Canada or North America or anything, and you're not a fan of things that aren't Bitcoin, to say the least. But I'll let you speak on this.
I really got no comment on the Canadian ETF, so yeah, that's it. I'll leave it there.
Okay, good. Because I thought you were going to rip it, because you're getting a chance to rip on corporate Bitcoin when we bring up Coinbase.
So, Meister, a question for you: What do you think about the introduction of multi-currency and multi-coin ETFs and additional products, that are straying away from the hard Bitcoin line?
Multi altcoin ETFs,
Bitcoin ETF,
index fund, a spider fund, an ETC fund.
But that's the thing. I have no problem at all with guys like Barry Silber making up these altcoin funds, whatever you want to call them. People want to diversify for the sake of diversification. You were bringing up what adds legitimacy to Bitcoin, because we were talking about before Ali Alexander and all these people that are obviously unmentionables. They have a real use case for Bitcoin. I mean, they need it. But when traditional finance people read about that's scary to them. So traditional finance people are used to diversification for the sake of diversification. So when they hear about, hey, you can get more than just a Bitcoin ETF or a Bitcoin fund, you can get a Litecoin fund now or an Ethereum Classic fund or whatever, that actually makes them feel good. Now that doesn't make and if they want to gamble on that stuff, that's their right. So I have no problem with the altcoins being financialized and people. I always talk about Coinbase is going to be a Bitcoin bank. Well, it's also going to be an altcoin bank, and they're clearly well on their way to doing that. So I have no problem. I just tell people the straight up truth that Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. I've seen all these altcoins come and go. There is no point to diversify for the sake of diversification. But I can scream that from the rooftops. Traditionally, that's what people do. They want there to be another Bitcoin. They want to diversify. They feel more comfortable that this is their world outlook. So it's expected, and I believe in compete, don't complain. I'm not going to be one of the people trying to cancel out the Litecoin ETF or whatever might come one day. And if there's a Litecoin ETF, you have to assume by that point that Bitcoin is like going wild. How about that? So that's another positive spin for everyone. But let's since I threw out Coinbase on there, Coinbase is getting closer to going public, and this is going to be like so big for Bitcoin and for, I guess, cryptocurrency, you can say. It will add some legitimacy to Bitcoin. Not that we need legitimacy from the normies. Bitcoin doesn't need that. But clearly, this Coinbase thing, they released some information and the factors that could hurt Bitcoin. They reveal all of this information. It was very interesting. They said, how about if Satoshi came back, that could drop the price. They gave reasons why the price could drop. It's low to below, but we're getting closer, is what the point is. And it's and how wealthy some of these guys are going to become. Some of the shareholders in Bitcoin. Brian Armstrong is already making a lot of money, but once this goes public, he's going to be a billionaire, I believe. So since Kyle, you just asked me a question, do you have any thoughts on the Coinbase situation?
I think dude is already a billionaire, and I think I think what we're seeing here is like what you said. Like, this is the rise of the crypto bank, and Coinbase is definitely like the biggest crypto bank on the planet, or one of the biggest crypto banks. And for them to release all that information, they're just gearing up, and now they're going to hit the public markets, and we're seeing the move. We'll see the movement of they're projecting at, I think, a $77 billion kind of valuation to be going live. Like, wow. Goodness.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
He made $60 million last year. Like, wow. Good work, dude. Good work. They posted 322 million net income. Like, okay, they're making money. Like, this is working. Like, and how did they get their bank accounts? They bribed the bank with notes. That was the other thing. Like, wow, good job. Like, master strategists, and they pulled it off, and they dealt with a lot of hatred from the community over the years. But at the end of the day, they just stayed focused on what they did. I remember there was I think they were dealing with some cancel culture, and they told people, if you can't handle our non-canceling culture, I feel was what they were saying, that you're free to leave. They were good in that sense. So, kudos to them. Well, they're the first. They won't be the last. I'll tell you that much.
Pound that like button for not being the last. Indeed, there are other ones gearing up, and we're talking about valuations of all sorts of companies out there. I think Kraken was talking. I don't know if they're going to go public, but they were talking about how much they're worth. There was an article about that. All right, John, your take on what Coinbase, all the Coinbase information that's been coming out, and is Brian Armstrong a billionaire already?
I have no idea. I mean, I suspect he's going to be, if with $100 billion IPO. And it's substantial news just for the fact that the market appears to be receptive to a $100 billion valuation for a company in this industry. It's not surprising to me, but like when you compare like Goldman Sachs as being roughly the same, and they being kind of the financial gods of the world for the last 100 years, or some variation thereof. I mean, it's pretty compelling that Coinbase can come along, and I disagree with a lot of their practices and et cetera, but as you said before, they're operating in a market. They've grown to the size they have because customers value the service they provide, and now the market is validating the work they've done and valuing them, at a very high valuation. I think that speaks to the development and the acceptance of this industry. Now, you could make the case that markets are super frothy right now, and there's a lot of money sloshing around, and that's part of the reason why the valuation is so high. And there's probably some truth to that. But, I think more people being interested in this industry, more eyes on it, higher valuations for more companies in the space are going to inspire and incentivize other entrepreneurs to get involved in this space and build stuff. And I tend to think that over time, most roads will lead to Bitcoin, but everyone has a different door into this space, and so I generally think it's a good thing, and he probably is going to be a billionaire. So,
all right, I think Dragon Lord is going to have a different take on this. Take it away.
So yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is basically a mechanism for people, to save money. In today's world, even in America, people barely have money, to afford any kind of emergencies that would arise for them, even for emergency healthcare services. And people, create much more debt this way, and they have less avenues, to progress in life because of this, because their financial security isn't there. So encouraging people to, go on to Coinbase, and play the shitcoin casino is just a no-go for me. People, what people should just do? They should go sell their shitcoins on Coinbase, exchange it into Bitcoin, then withdraw that Bitcoin and then close your account and just delete Coinbase completely. I mean, Kraken is going to be the first Bitcoin bank, so that's for sure. And they're going to be the first crypto bank also. It's probably, Coinbase is not in a sense any kind of bank, because, even if Brian Armstrong created the first crypto exchange, okay. But I mean, that lasted this long. But I mean, it's still something that kind of promotes, casinoing. People go buy shitcoins because they think that they can achieve the same goal. I mean, the same wealth that other Bitcoiners achieved who got in early in 2010, 2009. And the whole thing just plays out into this, that they try to get rich quick, and in the end, they burn themselves. And if they look at if somebody sells their Bitcoin to buy some sort of shitcoin, that's like the worst of all, like Ripple, they're gonna see their Bitcoin amount just keep going down to zero, and they're just gonna lose their money. So telling people just go on to Coinbase and buy stuff, why are you diversifying? You're just wasting your money. You're just wasting your savings. You're not doing anything productive for yourself and for your family. So yeah, I mean, that's it.
There's a market for it, though. That's the thing. I mean, you cannot deny
there is a market for casinoing. Yeah, that's like that's why people go to addiction, for rehab, just because of addiction to gambling and shit. I mean, they need to learn how to save money, else they're never gonna get out of this thing.
Now again, they're acting as a Bitcoin bank, a pseudo Bitcoin bank. They're not going to get some banking license, but I mean, basically for newbies, they buy a bunch of altcoins, they buy some Bitcoin. They keep it there like a bank, and you get your Ethereum. You get staking rewards there. Well, I think at Gemini you do. I might be getting Gemini, but Coinbase probably will do the same thing. So I mean, we're even talking about quote unquote, you can get interest with your Ethereum at places like this. There is a demand. The newbies, the diversifiers, they're going to do what they're going to do, and it should be interesting. I tell people, like, yeah, don't Bitcoin is next Bitcoin, but you can only repeat it so many times. Some people will never ever get it. All right.
But there's another problem with Coinbase. Since Coinbase is located in the U.S. and is bound by U.S. regulations, that means that if the U.S. government decided it would confiscate your Bitcoins as part of a 6102 executive order, then they could do it even to a foreigner national. because
Yes.
that's completely American interest over there. But in
Yes.
comparison to other European exchanges operating, that wouldn't be happening. So you should probably, if you're going to be holding Bitcoin in exchange, try hold it in a country that doesn't have the history of confiscation of private property.
Well, you're looking at. I see the perspective you're looking at it from. You're comparing European. Yeah, Coinbase will confiscate people's Bitcoin. Once, I mean, it will happen very soon. Once they become public, they will really be under the watchful eye of Congress and the SEC and whatnot. And someone bad will do something on someone quote unquote deemed bad. And yeah, this will happen. But it's and I think the people that are evaluating Coinbase, they agree with that. The traditional finance people want a financial entity that is going to be completely compliant with everything that the government tells it to do. So I mean that probably adds value to it, unfortunately for the traditional people. But again, this is an opt-in thing. No one has to use Coinbase. No one has to buy Coinbase stock. But it is we're getting closer to it happening. That's why we brought it up today and everything. So I want to get to another controversial. Coinbase is a very controversial name in the space. There's no doubt about it. But a name that's even more controversial is Tether. And we're talking about government interference and government regulation. The lovely New York Attorney General's office came to a resolution with Tether and fined them some money, and they both claimed victory, and now everyone can go their separate ways. I still think there's going to be Tether FUD in the future. I'm happy that it's over, but again, Tether is not Bitcoin. Tether is centralized. They can be sued. We saw the difference there. So, John, did you have any thoughts? This was the beginning of the week when this happened. It seems like eons ago, about the New York Attorney General's settlement with Tether.
Well, I found it interesting that, they settled and Tether admitted no wrongdoing. And then the statement by the New York Attorney General was like pretty incriminating. They were like, they covered up 850 million of whatever, and they didn't actually have the funds. So it's the communication seemed a bit contradictory from the two parties. But I don't know if I'm unique in this way, but I've just never been able to care about the Tether stuff in any way. Like, I've never cared about the FUD. I've never used it because I don't trust it, even though like I'm happy to accept what the court said, and like maybe they've more or less run things as they were supposed to, or there's been no loss of funds and stuff. But that's not what I'm not here to extend a trust to players like that in the space. I mean, like, I buy Bitcoin and that's all I care to do, and I'm not trading in and out of it, and I'm not using Tether for anything else. And so I know there's obviously a use case for it. It's a $20-30 billion digital asset, but I think you're right. The FUD will still come because there's always going to be that trust issue, even though now they're committing to, I think, quarterly reporting reserves and flows or something like that. I got messages from friends and stuff saying like, is the Tether stuff the reason why the price is tanking and all that kind of stuff? So it's probably still going to be part of the narrative, but it's just really hard for me to care. I don't really pay attention to it.
Yeah, I really agree with a lot of what you said there. I have to cover it because people ask me questions like that. I mean, people are like, "Oh, look at this article that said this is why the price is going to crash because Tether is fake." I'm like, oh, God, we've seen this thing 50,000 times. So I was kind of hoping that it'll shut some people off. I will say this: it was very interesting that the New York Attorney General claimed victory, and so did Tether. I guess no one can just admit, let's just go our separate ways and we can both be just forget about all this. I don't think the New York Attorney General won in any way, but she has to save face, and it's the bureaucrats are going to bureaucrat, I guess. Hey, do you trust BTC Dragon Lord? You're talking about not liking Coinbase very much and being a gambling. What do you think about Tether? I mean, Tether is the oil of gambling. It's what fuels the altcoin gambling.
Okay, so the Bitfinex account was basically started by a Ripple supporter back in the day, and it was operating as a psyop to increase people doubting Bitcoin. So it was really big echo. It was a very big echo chamber back in the day between these shitcoin communities, and they really caught on to it. Like it was their little QAnon community, basically, that they used to, to spread FUD about Bitcoin, that this is gonna be dumping, that's gonna get compromised, it's gonna crash in price. It never crashed in price. The whole point is that if Tether crashes, everybody's gonna be trying to exit Tether into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin price is just gonna keep going up. There's no logical option for Bitcoin to crash with Tether if Tether would ever get compromised, or it would, in any sense, lose value or run out of printing money. You know what I'm saying? It's impossible. It's a FUD. It's bullshit. But people need to somehow move dollar even on chain. So they shit coins and they have dollars on it. So it's dollars. So it people decide what they're gonna use. So yeah.
Oh, I want to say one thing. You bring up Bitfinex. That was a Twitter handle that did really start the Tether FUD. That was now I don't know if the guy was really a Rippler or not. I have no idea. But I just want to bring it up because he has disappeared. He's gone. I mean,
he got wrecked.
What he spawned though, what he brought about that mantle has been picked up by so many people, including the New York Attorney General. I do want to remind the newbies out there, there are a lot of people that have not heard about this Bitfinex guy. And just to show you, we've been here a long time when you know about this dude, and dudes like this come and go. And I stress the word go. Someone who might seem like a really big player one day in the space, a really big, scary person, whether it be Mike Hearn with his raid that you think is going to bring about the end of cryptocurrency, they're just a flash in a pan when you look back on the bigger picture of this, okay? Because
massive scammers, basically, yeah.
You call them what you want. They're flashes in the pan. All right, so Kyle, I'm going to go to you. What do you think about the New York Attorney General and the Tether situation? Is the FUD over with?
I don't know. They settled. They, another settlement that probably covered about the cost of the investigation. I think both people looking like, both parties declaring wins is a testament to the year we're in, where apparently nobody can lose anymore. So, that's completely ridiculous. I'm like, really, like, if we step back and think about Tether for a second, though, like, there is room for FUD. Like, there is room for FUD. It is a central bank in crypto. But BTC Dragon was just saying was like, if something happens to it, Bitcoin will only succeed. So therefore, what's the inverse of that? If it really succeeds, Bitcoin doesn't succeed, because as they choose, it feels like it's the central bank where if they choose to issue more and more, then all of a sudden you're gaining like whale power. And I was reading that Wolong article the other day about the art of deception and how he manipulated the Dogecoin markets, and back in the day how whales operate. And to think about whale operations and like coordinated strategies at the Bitcoin level now requires insane bags to be able to do that. And the Tether bag is a bag that's capable of whale level movement. So I think it's just to be aware of that element that's in play when there is a party that is able to generate money out of thin air. One of my friends the other day I was talking to, the NFT rage is on, and they're like, the best way to make money in the space is to create your own money. And I think that's something that Heather's really taken part.
All right, you bring up Dogecoin. Well, I think Dogecoin and GameStop are the same mentality here. It's the Robin Hood mentality. And by the way, GameStop is up to $91 again, which is just absolutely ridiculous. No fundamentals behind it whatsoever. But what is your take on Dogecoin and its valuation, Kyle? I'm interested to hear, because I mean you believe in altcoins should exist.
I love Dogecoin. I think if Bitcoin is the gold, and let's say maybe Litecoin would be the silver, and just like a basic analogy, then Dogecoin is like the copper of the world, but cuter. I just why I like Bitcoin or Dogecoin is because it's based on a meme, it's based on a joke, but it's actually fairly serious. The community is very kind of, it just doesn't, it lacks the serialness of the BTC versus BCH versus BSV versus ETH versus E. Like, there's just so many rival factions, and like we can all kind of come together around the meme, around the dog, around how cute it is. Like, I can give a sticker of a Bitcoin sticker to a child. What kind of reaction does that evoke? You tell me. Nothing. Oh, you gave me the letter B. Big whoop. You give a child a sticker of the Doge. You know what happens? Everybody smiles. Children smile. They're happy. They're grateful. Power of the Doge. Well, what is Doge spelled backwards?
That's interesting. I'm not going to say it's blasphemy is what it is.
Blasphemy.
It's blasphemy. I'm not saying it. But I get. But you're saying the meme coin is sustainable, because to me, I think it's a dangerous pump and dump situation. I think I get what you're coming from here. Cryptocurrency, this is the first time we've had tribes built around money. That's, we have tribes around sports teams, tribes around religion, tribes around country, but we've never had tribes around money. And you described the Bitcoin tribe. The Dogecoin tribe is a bunch of young people who are new, who are trying to manipulate the market in a innocent way. I guess that's the way I can say. So, I mean, are there going to be a lot of disappointment?
I agree. I don't think they're necessarily young people who are new. Like, I know some I've been to conferences in the space all over, and like Bitcoin conferences to other crypto conferences. I was at the Dogecoin conference. It was the most fun of them all by a long shot. And the level of this discussion amongst the parties and the diversity there was truly incredible. But it also wasn't, people were like, Dogecoin or die. Like, no. It's like, this is like, let's just relax. Let's understand. Like, it's okay. I wouldn't put, and the other thing, what I like about Dogecoin is Wall Street is not going to touch it. Like, they are not, like, when the Goldman Sachs boardroom is like, should we put 5% of our reserves into doggy coin? No. But will they say, should we make a big play on the supply of Bitcoin? Yeah, we can do that. Can we co-opt that network? Yeah, we can start co-opting that network. And I would say that Bitcoin has already seen massive, big money come in and big interest into in it. And that's something that, the Doge, the Buddha reincarnate, might, help be a solution to.
Again, you bring up that clearly, yes, the corporate entities will not be interested in Doge, which leads me to believe that eventually the money will stop coming in to be able to keep the price where it's at. I think you need to be sustainable. You need everyone to have an interest in the coin, to be able to desire to be in on it. And
that's where, like, the figures like an Elon Musk explaining that for Dogecoin to become a real global currency is the ultimate irony, is the biggest joke. And like, we are literally living in a joke of a world. Like, up is down, down is up. Children are wearing masks outside. What is going on? Like, the world is completely crazy. So why do we think, the sanity will reign in the financial markets? It obviously is not.
That is actually a good way to wrap up the situation with Doge and GameStop. What you describe what's going on in the real world, yeah, it's definitely trickled into the financial world. John, do you have any thoughts on this Doge or GameStop and the financial insanity and how long it can continue? Is it sustainable at all?
Well, I mean, first, I love the attitude of the GameStop people, and I think a lot of their memes. I think there's going to be a lot of overflow from them to Bitcoin, right? Because like the GameStop stuff is like, oh, we're going to blow up a few hedge funds, but the Bitcoin stuff is like, we're going to blow up central banking and fiat currency, and that's a way bigger game to be playing. And I love to see, there's been some great video memes out there where the two communities come together to fight this epic battle. And I think a lot of those people in the Wall Street Bets community are going to be more and more interested in Bitcoin and what it represents. So I think there'll be, that fight I don't think you can really win. I mean, GameStop, someone's going to be left holding the bag, and it's probably going to be, the retail. But I think they'll shift their ire to, bigger fish, bigger targets. And that's when you come to Bitcoin. And, about the Doge stuff, people are mad at Elon for all this stuff. And like, oh, they're misdirecting people away from Bitcoin. Like, look, he doesn't owe us or the world anything. I mean, he's off doing what he wants, spaceships, Teslas, whatever. Like, if he wants to have some fun, I'm not going to hold him up as somebody that needs to be more responsible than any of us just because people follow him. I've always hated that sort of attitude towards people with an influence. So if he wants to make Dogecoin memes, that's fine. He put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. I think that speaks volumes of how he sees the two as a legitimate financial asset now and into the future. And like, I agree with the assessment that the world is completely off its rocker right now. And so we shouldn't act nor expect things to be rational all the time, if ever, but hopefully there are some vestiges of rationality left. And, I think Doge is ridiculous. I wouldn't put my money in it. Value is always subjective, and people are going to value a wide range of things. And, people value Pokemon cards, and people value certain styles of dressing. And, so like, I don't think it's ever all going to funnel in to Bitcoin. But if we're talking about what is the best form, what is the best upgraded form of money in the world today, the most censorship resistant, immutable global store of value and future currency, the only one that I'm comfortable placing a bet on with my capital is Bitcoin. And whatever else people want to do to have fun, be part of a community, gamble a little bit, or whatever, I don't care. So I'm not mad at it. It's not for me.
All right, let's BTC Dragon. I think I know what you're going to say about Dogecoin, but take it away.
I used to play video games back in the day because there wasn't really a thing out in the world that would have been interesting for me. And then on a nice day, I managed to find out about Bitcoin and all those games like EVE Online, with those virtual battles and their big epic things on it, totally ended it right on the spot. It's been a very long time since I played games ever since I discovered the system is screwing me over. And ever since I realized what is going on, I started working against the system to bring it down, to destroy it. And this is dead serious. Because when you figure out of the system that you can change the system and you can be a nobody and you can achieve that, everything changes. Dogecoin might be cute and funny, but when you can, create a better future with Bitcoin, why would you play around with money that doesn't exist?
Very interesting comparison there. The video game lifestyle to the and waking up one day to more serious things. We shall see. We shall see. Because again, the world isn't. There's some people that aren't taking anything too seriously or rationally anymore. But hey, good story there. I like that. I wanna tie everything up here because we've reached the end of the show, and it's gonna cut us off. But don't worry, I will save us when it cuts us off. So we'll since we got BTC Dragon Lord right here right now, he's linked to below. Tell us what's going on with you, man. Anything you want to promote? Any stories you want to bring up that were left off?
Yeah, my book's going to be soon coming out, Bitcoin and Trust Problem. Bitcoin is currently working on the cover of it and editing it into it, so it's going to be pretty cool. And a new article going to come out on Citadel 21 and Bitcoin Magazine next month, which is going to be really cool.
All right. Now, what's the name of the book again, and who's working on the cover of it?
It's Bitcoin and the Trust Problem, and Bitcoin is working on it right now.
Okay. Very, very good. I'm glad you're in motion there, writing books, dude. I didn't know that. All right, Kyle, what's going on with you?
Just living my life here in Canada, trying to take it one day at a time, raising a whole family. Continuing to explore and work on strategies to bring our Swiss key cards to market and the Tangent technology of the tangible, easy to use crypto smart cards. Check them out, SwissKey.io for more info. And trying to just have a good time and not take things too serially, because otherwise it can be a bit of a challenge. A little bit onto what Dragon was saying there. Buckminster Fuller said, don't try and fix the existing system, build new ones that make the existing one obsolete. And I feel that's what crypto is enabling. And I believe that it's tantamount to gunpowder. So the invention of gunpowder that could be, uninvented. Those using bows and arrows just are no longer effective. They can continue to fight with them if they so choose, but unless you adopt the gunpowder, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage. Just ask Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai how that went for him.
Nice movie illusion there. Pound that like button for Tom Cruise. All right.
Anyway, I'm just really grateful to all of you guys for your dedication and your inspiration, and to all the viewers who continue to tune in to Adam. He is amazing. Let us know how we can support you, Adam. That's
just pound that like button. That's how you support me.
Boom.
Retweet it, and just have a strong hand, dudes. All right, we will leave it off with John here.
Well, brother, it's always a pleasure to chat. I'm doing my thing on the podcast still, Bitcoin Rapid Fire, and yesterday, myself and Robert Breedlove, Richard James, and Gigi took on the very ambitious task of trying to explore Jordan Peterson's book, Maps of Meaning, which is his obscure book written in the late 90s, not one of the well-known bestsellers. And, because it deals with really fundamental topics, and we thought it would be fun to dig into, but boy, was it challenging. So that was the most recent pod, if anyone's interested in that subject matter. And, man, I just appreciate what you all do, and look forward to doing this again sometime.
All right. Best guest in the space. Pound that like button. GK just sent $9.99. He said, best Bitcoin show of the week. Shabbat Shalom. Indeed. Shabbat Shalom. Purim Sameach. It is Purim. Happy Purim to everyone. You are supposed to become intoxicated on Purim. I don't do that, but there are plenty of them getting intoxicated on the streets of New York today. Well, are they still getting drunk? I mean, New York's shut down. My people in New York, you Hasids out there, do not follow the rules of the state. Get drunk out on the streets of Williamsburg and in Brooklyn today. Go wild, have fun. Pound that like button. I'm Adam Meister, the BitcoinMeister. Seriously, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll be back soon. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the support. See you soon. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.